Goedenavond. Welcome back to SDN for Tier 1 for Round 5 at the Chinese Grand Prix. My name is Indigo and alongside me tonight is Milan Langer. Hoe gaat het?
Het gaat goed, dankjewel. And I'm glad to be here again. How are you doing tonight?
Het gaat goed. Met mij dankjewel. Goedenavond, wees een nerd. Hoe gaat het? But yeah, nice to be back here. We were at the Chinese Grand Prix, of course, and this was I think it was the 1000th Grand Prix back in 2019, but obviously that race wasn't that quite spectacular because it was a boring one, but we did see the Mercedes double stack in the Chinese Grand Prix that year as well. Hello, Kick. How are you doing, mate? Nice to see you in the chat, and hopefully we get to see you racing as well. Actually, he is not racing, so Kick is not here, but we've got 18 drivers in the session then, so that means 3 people will be eliminated, of course. That means the top 15 will go through into Q2, and in Q2 the top 10 will go through, the bottom 5 will get knocked out, then the Q3 is the top 10 shootout. But Milan, what are you looking forward to here, mate? What do you think could happen at this race?
That's going to be very interesting with the back straight, of course, on the final lap, one to be behind. Going on to that enormous back straight, one of the longest on the calendar, so it's going to be a tactical race as well towards the end. But for qualifying, yeah, Q1 3 drivers going out, I think we'll have to take a look at the 2 Saubers. They haven't had the greatest season so far yet, so their challenge mainly is going to be to get out of qualifying. Mominik and Dennis once again coming out for the Sauber team and someone else, but yeah, last week in Belgium we saw some big names dropping in Q2 as well, so it's always interesting to see who is going to go out in these qualifying sessions.
Yeah, talk about the big names. We saw Eastbrand, who got knocked out at Q1 or Q2, sorry, after starting in P12. I think he validated on his last lap and therefore had to start in 12th place. But what an amazing comeback drive. But the problem was for him, he pitted 1 lap too later, and that cost him loads of positions, so therefore he had to make his way back through. It was F1 Shorts who took the victory at the Belgian Grand Prix. What a fantastic drive for the Mercedes driver last week on his debut there. Is F1 Shorts. I don't think he's here now, unfortunately not, but yeah, congratulations to F1 Shorts on a fantastic victory. It was Eastbound who finished in P2. Arguably could have been the win, but unfortunately the wrong strategy call is what cost him there. Ruben finished in P3, the German driver who is here tonight, and well done to Ruben as well, keeping it nice and out of trouble with Mike in P4 and Kick in P5, and Stefan, who had very bad luck because he had strong pace for Tier 1 and Tier 2. But in both races got unlucky in Division 1 and Division 2 on Saturday and Friday because I think he spun by himself in Stavolo in Division 1 and Division 2 he got pushed back left, right and centre. He was always in a fight, was Stefan, so hopefully he can have a bit of a calmer race this time as he would have wanted. As we see Danny then making his way down towards the hairpin at turn number 14, then gets out of it on the throttle. Be very careful with traction as we make our way now towards the final corner we go. Let's see what the benchmark is for Danny as he crosses the line right now to set a 30.6, and that's the benchmark to beat. We see both McLarens orchestrating the slipstream down the back straight there with Tim right behind Ivan as he'll pull out to the right side with Ivan to let Tim go in towards the hairpin. He goes then, so nice speed on the back straight. We've already seen a slipstream on the back straight in Q1 already. Let's see what he does now towards the final corner. Let's see, can he beat Danny's time? He can't.
Can't quite. He ran out of ERS as well coming out of the final corner. I think the only reason he got a slipstream from Ivan was because of Ivan invalidating his first lap time. So he backed off and gave his teammate a slipstream, but the gap is a second to Danny, so it must have been a very good lap time from Danny indeed, because Tim isn't the slowest driver at all, so interesting to see what he can do as Dennis in P4. But Mike now up to the front row, and he is only a few hundreds behind Danny. Good lap from the Ferrari driver as well. So we see Lucas on the intermediates, he is invalidated as well, while Octavia goes up into P5 in the Red Bull.
Mike was playing a supportive role for Fireblaze, his teammate, last week because Fireblaze started on the soft compound tyres. If you remember, Stefan goes up into P6 on the intermediates, Octavia is P5 with a 32.3. But if you remember that Mike went for the medium compound tyres and Fireblaze went for the softs, and Mike did a great job defending from the guys behind us all, keeping Eastbrand at bay out of all people and others. But unfortunately Fireblaze's lead got wiped out, and he also pitted on the wrong strategy to Fireblaze as he went on to the, I think it was the hard compound tyres, but actually It was a one-stop from, I think it was dry compound tides to wet towards the end, where he did a two-stop strategy, and that's what cost him. So Fireblaze is coming in a lap time now, right behind Mike, as we ride on board with the second Ferrari drive. And Fireblaze, who's picked up a few podium this season, and his teammates have had better results than him so far. It's just that Fireblaze has been unlucky, wrong place at the wrong time. But here he is, then with the DRS on the back straight. What can the Dutchman do as he makes his way down the back straight, followed by his teammate? As we reach speeds about 330 kilometers an hour, 333, that's about 210 miles per hour, as Mike goes straight on in the corner to get out of the way for Fireblaze as he powers out of the hairpin. As we make our way now towards the final corner we go, let's see what Fireblaze could do in the Ferrari with the DRS wide open. He crosses the line now and he goes up into P3, so competitive lap time there for Fireblaze, 2/10 behind his teammate. Yes, Mike, and yes, Danny, who's currently occupying first place in P1. Elsewhere on the track, we've got Ruben, who's invalidated his lap time. Amos Lucas, the man that won the Australian Grand Prix for the first race on the intermediates, so we know that's not going to be a representative lap time there. He's probably waiting to kill the time, as we all do when it's a long qualifying. We like to go on the intermediate tyres just to kill the time. Here comes Heiken Haas now, another interesting driver to watch out for on his day as well. He can be really quick, but at the same time having a few mistakes along the way. I think he almost won the Australian Grand Prix, but I think that belonged to Eastbound because Heiken Haas made contact with somebody at turn 3, or somebody hit the back of Heiken Haas in turn 3, which cost him the victory that day, you could dare say. But now he makes his way on the back straight then, with a lot of overtake available to him as he drains it, but not really using much of that battery so far, so he's just saving or storing some. This is probably his side slap. He's not going to go for a full push lap just yet to try and get used to the track conditions.
Indeed, a banker lap indeed for every single driver as he makes his way towards the final corner. What can he do as a first lap time in the Visa Cash App RB across the line? It's not going to be the quickest lap time, 1:31.8 over a second off. Danny in P1. Surprised to see Mike actually retiring from the session for some reason. So he thinks he is safe already after just one lap. To be fair, I can't really blame him. 1:30.6 does seem like a good lap time. I don't think he will be down the order down to in the drop zone at the end of the session. Mike, of course, he got pole position last week in Belgium after getting a slipstream from his teammate, unironically, but he is once again proving to be very strong in qualifying, as his first lap time has once again put him ahead of his teammate, as the Mercedes of the VHNL has put it into the top 6. The gaps are quite big, I must say, between these drivers so far.
Indeed they are. I'm just watching Ruben, and as he flicks his way now towards these double left-handed go, he can be very careful, especially the exit there on the curb on the outside, where it can really throw you off balance as Heiken Haas goes up to P5 in the RB. We've just seen that as TVHNL goes into 6th place in the Mercedes with Faye Dennis on his outlap. But watching Ruben, had a bit of a squirm going out of a turn number 3, I believe, and lost the back end of the car, so it might cost him a bit of time. Also seen him fighting with the car in the middle sector as well, so Ruben's definitely fighting with his car as he tries to counter steer, as he makes his way down the back straight then, 325 kilometers an hour. So that's not anywhere near we've seen his speeds down the back straight so far, as he's running out of fuel as well. So he's going to get a reference on the board, and we'll see where this puts him as he makes his way now towards the final corner. EOS has been deployed and used. Eastbound goes up into P4. Heck was Ruben now goes up into P5. So I'm expecting these times to tumble down, because I've not really seen many people push quite hard or use a lot of battery in the early stages, because obviously on your first lap in the early stage of qualifying, you just want to get a banker down, so you have a reference point and have a feel for the track and the sighter, and something to compare yourself with as well on your second and third flying laps.
Yeah, indeed, that's actually why the gaps are quite big. They aren't pushing as hard as they would be at the end of the session, as Ruben is now also retired from the session, on track by the way, which is not entirely what you're supposed to do, but Ivan in the meantime has slotted in behind his teammate Tim by a few thousandths of a second. Currently in the drop zone, 3 drivers without a lap time so far. It is Lucas and Mommy Nick. Mommy Nick is on a lap time as well as the Alpine. And Lucas is on the outlap as well. Stefan has had some sort of incident on this lap, I think, because he's 4.4 seconds off, as Eric in the meantime has gone up to P6, but he's still 1 second off Danny in P1. The gap between the top 3 and the rest of them is so insanely big. It's quite interesting to see, I must say.
It is indeed then, but I wonder whether those guys, P6 downwards or P5 downwards, have the pace. I'm surprised Ruben's retired quite early as well. He's on a 31.5. I know Mike's retired with a 30.6, but Ruben could be in big trouble. And here comes Mummy Neck now towards the line. He goes as he crosses the line, goes up into P14 with a 32.3, just a few hundred slower or shy than Thoughtavia. And it's behind his teammate FaZe Dennis as well in the kicks up in P12. So FaZe Dennis does currently have the bragging rights over his teammate both. Williams drivers of Stefan and Lucas are currently out there. Mello the Beast is out there too. I've seen him out there, but he hasn't set a lap time just yet. So here he is then. He makes his way now towards the final corner. He goes. Let's see what he could do on his debut this season in the Alpine. He crossed the line to go up into P6 there. And what's quite funny as well, it was quite strange as well, like in the first race of the season, we saw the likes of like Matthias and Zach. And we never really saw them after Miami. They're just gone, both of them together. So I'm not quite sure what happened to Matthias and Zach. I do miss them because they always put on some great races and good entertainment between us. As Stefan goes up to P5 in the Williams at 31.1, but I have no idea where Zach and Matthias are, or Matthias.
Yeah, indeed, it's a real shame they aren't racing anymore. It was always good fun watching them fighting away at the front. But yeah, we haven't seen them ever since. Which is quite strange indeed. It's nowadays Daniele, by the way. He's down in P17. The man who started on pole position in Austria. He got knocked out in Q2 last week along with his teammate. But now he's currently down in P17, though he is on a good lap, it seems. He was 3/10 up through the first sector. Let's see what he can do in the middle part of the lap. Now 6/10 up, and that's looking more like it. So now navigates his way through turns 12 and 13, which can be very tricky on throttles. We see a bit of a snap as well from the back end. Meanwhile, Lucas has now got up to P4, so both Williams drivers have finally set a competitive lap time, and they're back up there in the top 6 as the Haas driver makes his way down the back straight, deploying a bit of ERS down to around 30% into the hairpin of turn 14. And that little kink on the exit is counted as a corner for some reason as well, as he now makes his way into the final corner. Down in P18, last as it stands with just over 5 minutes remaining in the session. Daniele across the line, and he goes up into P7, just behind Stefan and his teammate Eastbrand.
It was a Haas 1-2 last week at the Belgian Grand Prix between Daniela and I think it was Eastbrand, but I'm not quite sure how Daniela got pushed into P9, whether he picked up penalties post-race and he also picked up penalties, I think, as well during the races. Eastbrand has retired from the session, knowing that he's safe currently so far. Ruben has retired, but I'm not quite sure how safe he is because it's quite close behind him, not much separates the guys behind either, so quite interesting to see how it all unfolds, as Fireblaze has pointed something very interesting out in this Grand Prix. It says rain is on its way, so in Q2 and Q3 we could see a bit of rain impact the circuit, and that could be very interesting because it's really spice up qualified. So if it does, we'll see when the rain hits, but maybe not in Q1. If it does hit in Q1, those guys in the drop zone or close to it need to get a move on. But if it comes into Q2, that'll be very interesting. I do like it when rain spices things up in qualifying, because we'll see a lot of different people in different places and out of order too, out of place, as AMS Ivan has gone 3-4 tenths quicker in the middle sector there, has the McLaren driver, so he continues downhill as Heiken Haas goes up into P6. Sorry about that, but I just yawned midway through. I can't believe I did that.
But that job has joined the session, so number 19 is coming, but 4 minutes remaining. He's gonna have probably one lap only, so if he finds his way into Q2, that would be very impressive. I'm sure he will try to set a lap time at least, as the McLaren of Ivan rounding out the final corner down in P13 behind his teammates, but moves up into P8. Now ahead of Daniela in Ruben and Mello the Beast, dropping down to P10 and 11. Are they that safe, I wonder? They're half a second currently ahead of the man in P15, which is TVH NL, as Job has now gone into the V-Carb. We've got 3 minutes remaining. Will he be able to make it out of Q1 with only one lap?
Our usual suspects are down there inside the drop zone. We've got FaZe Dennis, we've got Octavia, Mummy Nick and Patat Job, but we know Patat Job can be quite quick, so let's see, because he might have the one lap, like you said, to try and put himself into Q2, and any mistakes, he'll start down in last place then, so no mistakes can be forward on the RB's end, and he might fill the car for one or more laps, so he can just try and get 2 laps. In case he invalidates his first lap time, he's always got a second lap time to do it, because I believe he's got a time. Oh, sorry about that. So basically, because I'm ill, I've had to take some lemon and honey, and obviously boiled it as well in hot water. What that does is like it makes you very, very tired. Oh, face Dennis there has a massive snap as he lost the car drifting to the right hander as he spins on the grass too to poo it around. So that lap time has been ruined. He was up in the middle sector, was face Dennis. But what happens is that when you take lemon sip and honey and hot water together combined, it makes it all up. It does make you very, very tired, like hot milk. So apologies if you do hear me yawn, because I am ill tonight, as you probably hear me say. But yeah, my jaw is also hurted as well.
Won't blame you indeed, but it was the last thing that Face Dennis needed. He's got 2 minutes remaining, as he has now invalid as well. He has got enough ERS left, but does he have enough fuel left? No, he hasn't. He's going back into the pit lane, so that is Face Dennis. He is going to be out of qualifying, which leaves Rikai, Ju, TVHNL, Octavia, Mommy Nick, and put that job to go for a lap, as AMS Tim in the McLaren is also on a lap. Eric, surprisingly enough, has retired from the session as well. He's only saved by a few tenths of a second, but that's a big risk from the Aston Martin drivers. Tim is not on an improvement. TVHNL has just started his lap. He is currently safe, but only by a few hundredths of a second towards Face Dennis, who will not be improving his lap time. But Octavia, Mommy Nick might be, and who knows what that job got in store for us. But the Mercedes driver going quicker in sector 1 with almost 3/10 of a second, so that's a good start to his lap.
But I did love to get himself inside the top 15 after being knocked out in Q1 in last week's race at the Belgian Grand Prix. So currently in P15 on the cusp. So he needs to improve dramatically as well. Same as Ricky Yu, who saw the lap time coming through turn 1 and turn 2 in towards the first couple of corners we go. Back on board with TVH as he's currently 4/10. So in the middle sector, there's an RB who's gone for a little bit of a spin, I think, at the exit of turn 5, maybe turn 6. But that's not somebody on a lap time. It's
Octavia.
Is it?
Yeah, Octavia. He was, I think he made a mistake on his lap, and then out of frustration he weaved his wheel and then spun into the wall. So he was not going to be improving, but now he's definitely going to be out of qualifying. So that's already 2 names out, which leaves only Mommy Nick and Job to go for it. But TVHNL, by the way, he's up by 4/10 of a second. Through the second part of the lap, he has not got any ERS left though to use this lap. Across the line he goes though, P14 only, gains 1 position ahead of the Aston Martin of Reka Ju, but who is on another lap as well, improving by 1/10 of a second. And what can Mommy Nick do? He is not quite up on his time, I think. And Job is down there on the back straight as well. Can he get himself into Q2?
Mommy Nick, Job, and Reiki Yu. Let's see then which one of these 3 will get themselves into Q2. We've got Reiki Yu coming towards the hairpin now in turn 14 as he makes his way out of the final corner. Here comes the RB towards the line as he goes into P14, gets ahead, and pushes Reiki Yu out. Reiki Yu is 16th place. As Mommy Nick, let's see what he does in the kickstart, currently down by a few hundreds in the middle sector there. Goes a bit wide with the DRS wide open. He does not improve as he will stay in the drop zone. But Fireblaze did point out that rain is imminent on its way during qualifying, maybe the race as well. So we'll see when the rain impales the circuit, but drivers will need to have their eyes about, because I've been in the race in China where things have been chaotic because of the rain, and it's cost me, it's disadvantaged me. But here is your qualifying results then, as we see the bottom 4 get lots out. Reiki, Race Dennis, Face Dennis, Mommy Nick and Octavia. The bottom 4 have been knocked out qualifying, and they will not take part into Q2. Here is the top 15 as TVHNL just made it through by the skin of his teeth as well. But top job on his one and only lap into P14, but we'll see. can he find any more time to put himself into Q3? That's a great lap, despite under massive pressure, because sometimes when you join the session late, you only have the one lap, and the rain as in a part of the circuit then. So in Q2, it's going to be wet conditions, and this could be an interesting one indeed. Let's see, he's got the grip, the setup, the confidence in their car, as DRS has been enabled, it says on the top of the screen, so that could be very interesting. Let's see if it's one of those situations where you're going to get out very, very quickly and do the one lap before it's actually intermediates, but DRS has been disabled now, so race controllers turned it off, and maybe the intermediate tyres could be the way to go, you think?
Yeah, probably. That's usually the sign that the intermediates are quicker. I wonder if you're going to see anyone going out there on the slicks. We see a couple of drivers going out immediately. Let's see in a moment's time if any of them are on the slicks. I'm not quite sure. I think I'm seeing intermediates on all of these. Yeah, there are intermediates, so slicks no longer in use for the remainder of qualifying, probably, and it will be switched over to intermediates, which will spice things up and probably turn around the grid a bit compared to what we saw in Q1. Yeah, I'm gonna make use of the toilet real quick, so I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, there's no worries then. So we can see that the majority of drivers are dashing out there to get a fly lap on the board, and as you can see, they're all pushing quite hard as well, trying to get ahead and use track position. But there's still one person in the pit lane, which is Haas. And if I remember Haas very clearly, he got knocked out of Q2, didn't he? Along with, I think it was Eastbrand. So those two didn't play the strategy there. I think Haas started in, where did he start? I think, yeah, he started down in 15th place. I do remember him getting knocked out of Q2, along with Eastbrand, who started in P12. So that was two big names being knocked out of Q2. That was Eastbrand and it was Haas. But now all 15 drivers are on the circuit, as we see Daniela. Daniela has been a very interesting driver to watch out for as well, because he has the pace, but he just can't seem to get it together. Because if you remember turn 1, he made contact with people and he made a big mistake down at turn before there. So that's yeah, it's just not been really going well for Daniela whatsoever. Can his fortune change? That's the question. Can he turn things around as now he makes his way towards the final corner he goes? As no DRS will be enabled because of these wet conditions then, so let's see. He takes all the road on the right side and even goes off the track as well. As we head down towards turn number 1, letting the car just do the braking, let the car just slow down thanks to the engine braking. No need to dump on the brakes through here. As we're going out towards turn 2, you're going to be very, very careful in terms of picking up traction at the exit of turn 3 and turn 4. Now back on the throttle, you can see the back end car sliding around as he power drifts out of the corner.
Indeed, Haas on his first lap, and surprised to see everyone is on track at the moment, so might have indicating that rain could get heavier throughout the session, or everyone just wants some practice in the wet, that could be it as well. But the Haas of Daniele still on lap, sliding around, struggling for grip, of course, in these conditions. A bit of a switch from the slick grip towards the intermediates, always a big difference. And as he makes his way now into the final sector, turn 11, 12 and 13, they're going to be even more tricky now on throttle. So you see him squirming around with the back end, but keeping it high in the gears to avoid wheel spin as much as possible. So he now makes his way on the back straight. Also ERS left, as DRS you get it quite easily in these conditions. No DRS of course, so it will only be the ERS to work with, as we've got yellow flags in the middle sector. Down into the hairpin now we go with Daniele. One corner to go, which can be tricky with the exit for track limits. Have to keep it within the white lines, and he does that very much so. Across the line, first lap time on the board will be 1:42.502, and let's see how he will compare to the rest of us. Mello with 1:44, but Danny once again very quick indeed, with 1:42.3, 1.5 tenths ahead of the Haas as more times start coming in. The Williams drivers, P3 and 4, and Ruben onto the front row as well, very close to the Alpine. A few hundredths of a second separating himself, and Danny has Eastbrand now in the second Haas, goes up at the P4 alongside his teammate on the second row as it stands. and only Tim and Geitegaas left without a lap time. Geitegaas actually in pit lane, so he's the only one who isn't out there on track right now. And I think it was TVHNL who caused that yellow flag, which is why his lap time is 14 seconds off compared to the rest. But at the moment, with 10 minutes remaining, we've got Patajop, Middle of the Beast, TVHNL, Tim and Geitegaas in the drop zone. But it is very tight indeed, even in these conditions, especially at the top for now, as it wasn't in Q1, but now it is. Top 3 separated by 1.5 tenths, and top 2 less than a tenth of a second in between them.
Well, I'm going to go to the toilet very quickly. Be back.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Geitegaas down, he's on an outlap as well. So is Tim, although he hasn't validated his lap time once again, so he seems to be struggling in this session as Daniele enters the pit lane. Yeah, you got a few sets of intermediates, I think 5 sets if I'm not mistaken in qualifying, so plenty of tire sets to be used in Q2 and probably Q3 as well, if it will be raining there, I would assume. Geitegaas on his outlap, making his way down the back straight. He and Tim are the only one without lap time, and Tim actually has lost his front wing, so not sure what happened to the McLaren driver, but he sustained damage. Into the pit lane he goes, pulling out Lewis Hamilton into the wall, and Tim is out of qualifying, crashing into the pit lane entry. That is quite a silly incident there for the McLaren driver. Not sure what happened there, but the brakes won't be there without a front wing. And he finds himself into the wall, into the pit lane at the exit of turn 16. As you now see Geitegaas on the lap, and he is struggling for grip, clearly, as the back end is sliding around through turns 1 and 2. The incredibly long turns 1, 2, 3 and 4. And now on throttle towards the kink of turn 5 and down into the hairpin of turn 6, 27.1 to 0 is his first sector time split. Now into turn 7 is flat out in slicks, very much not so flat out in these intermediate conditions. Turn 8 as well, have to be careful with the curb on the inside. Now turn 9 and 10, double left-hander on the exit. The curb can really drag you to the outside of the track, but he seems to manage it just fine as he makes his way now into the final sector. As mentioned before, 11, 12 and 13. You have to really be careful on throttle to make sure to not create wheel spin in the rear tires, and so you see on board with the vehicle driver as he has a few moments of oversteer mid-corner. Geitegaas making his way down the back straight into the penultimate corner as Eastbrand has gone to the top with 142.2. He's gone quickest, and he's less than a tenth of a second ahead of Danny, but that is on his second lap on these intermediates. I think he had a cool down lap, but now he has done another push lap. He has gone quicker than he has so far as Geitegaas finally gets a lap time on the board, and it's good enough to put him into the top 6 ahead of the 2 Ferraris.
Yeah, so AMS Tim is out of this qualifying session already. I'm not quite sure what happened to him, but unfortunately he's gone.
I do.
What happened?
He lost his front wing on his lap, and then when he entered the pit lane, he crashed out on the outside wall of the pit lane, and that is his wheel gone. So basically pulled a Lewis Hamilton if there wasn't gravel.
In 2007, when Lewis Hamilton went into the gravel and effectively lost his championship there. But here he is, Ruben, and really started through the corners as he pushes the limits of the track, tries to find the balance and grip as we're going out towards the double left-hander. We go into fourth gear, to be very gradually careful, playing with the throttle there as he uses all the track on the outside. He almost lost it as well. As a limits at turn number, I think it was 9 there, as Ruben is down, so it doesn't really matter anyway, by 7/10 of a second as he's currently down. Elsewhere, Stefan is in the pit lane. Raikkonen has, we've just seen, complete a lap time as the van is on his, I think, in lap or out lap, as we see, yeah, not really anybody on their lap so far, not what I can see, but yeah, I think majority of people have just completed a lap. Oh! Eastbound drifted through turn 14, but as you've seen in the qualifier sessions, in the wet conditions as well, that you can do multiple runs on the set of intermediate tyres because they don't wear out as much as the soft compound tyres too, as the temperature as well doesn't get too sufficiently high, so you can't do more than 1 or 2 laps on the intermediate compound tyres. That's why they're a good tyre to use in the wet conditions, because you can do consistently amount of laps on the same set of intermediates as well, carrying a lot of fuel. So that's the benefit you have on the intermediates. Can do consecutive lap times if you want to, of course, but you can't do that on the dry compound tyres because you don't have the battery for your second lap, and plus you don't the tyre temperatures will be skyrocketing to the roof as well, especially on the soft compound tyres, because they take enough punishment on 1 lap alone, but never mind 2 laps, as we see Mike 3 tenths down in the middle set. So both Ferraris had a strong Q1 session. They were up there inside the top 5, but here they could be on the cusp of elimination because they're struggling here in the wet conditions. So let's see, can they try and get themselves further into safety? Lucas is down in the first sector by 2/10 of a second. Another handy driver to watch out for, Amos Lucas, and Kick as well. If Kick was here, it would really help him, but Stefan is up into P5 so far. Stefan, despite being a Division 2 driver, is doing an absolute impeccable job so far, currently sat in P5. Second consecutive weekend in Division 1, and he's doing a good job as AMS Tim has joined back the session. There is 4 minutes left to go, and so far it's Stefan who is currently outside the drop zone on the wrong side of it. He's on a flying lap so far, but that job in 13th is on a flying lap as well as we head down towards the heavy braking zone. This is another difficult corner too, because it's a heavy braking zone. You've got to screw off all the speed, and he lost massive wheel spin there. Almost lost the car as he heads towards the final corner. Let's see how much time he lost there as he now makes his way towards the line. He goes. It's P12. Did improve, but unfortunately has lost a lot of time due to that little mistake as Lucas heads back in the pit lane. Fireplace is currently out there, but he's not on a flying lap. Is the Dutchman.
Indeed, and it must be said, it's becoming a common theme in the second part of this Q2 session, but I'm not seeing any major improvements out there. A lot of drivers struggling to find any time and mostly losing time, so I wonder if the rain intensity is increasing in this Q2 session. The major drivers are still in pit lane as well, but I saw a lot of drivers on their laps down on their time, so it could be that the conditions are getting worse out there.
Good point there, Milan. We could see the wet compound tyres being introduced into Q3. The conditions are difficult enough, but Eastbrand is doing a mega job of it so far in first place. As Fireplace now heads back in the pit lane with about 2 minutes 35 seconds left to go. That is very close to cutting it, and I don't think he'd get back out there and do another flying lap because he's just headed back in the pit lane with about 2 minutes left to go. So I think he's cut it really close there as Fireplace. Could be in massive danger without people behind him improving too, but we'll see if anybody does improve behind him. But I think Patat Job's qualifying is done and dusted because he is running out of fuel. He hasn't got one more lap left to do another lap, and also he has to head back in the pit lane and won't make it back out in time. So Patat Job is definitely done out of qualifying. Elsewhere, we've got Eric, we've got Ivan, we've got Melody Beast and TVH NL in 14th place on their out laps as well. So Fireplace, Mike, potentially, and Haken Haas and P6 could look over their shoulders and see what's happened. Indigo. Let me just read that comment out for you, just to see what you said. Indigo, I'm going to use texture powder for the first time. Hope it works. Well, I don't know what that is, mate, but good luck, whatever that is, and hopefully you use it well. 1 minute 30 seconds left to go, Milan. Who do you think is in massive danger in this qualifier session?
I think it's the drivers currently down in the bottom 5, because to me it appears that the rain is getting heavier, and it's a full decision by Mike to retire from the session. Same for Geitenkaas, they're only a few tenths ahead of the ones in the drop zone, but they've retired from the session as well. They've got 1 minute remaining. I think that the rain has increased, so I'm not quite sure if we're going to be able to see any improvements at all, as Lucas is now he's retired as well, and he's only saved by a few tenths, a few hundreds to P10, but that job, he is out. He was not going to be able to do an lap anyway. As we will see, TVHNL, he will be the first one to try and improve on this lap. He's currently down in P14. He needs to find 1.1 seconds. I doubt he'll be able to find it as he makes his way through turns 2 and 3, which are already tricky enough in the dry, but in the wet you have to be even more careful with applying the throttle coming out there of turn 4. the Mercedes driver, we're about to find out if he has found any time through Sector 1. He has found a little bit of time, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough for him to get himself into Q3.
Indigo, are you still... Or is this another sickness? Look what he put. He said, Indigo... Oh, yeah, I'm still sick, by the way. Yeah, I'm still ill, unfortunately, so... Yeah, I've been ill for the whole week, and commentating has been really difficult, especially in other leagues as well, so this is not my best performance. I apologise about that, but hopefully I'll get better soon. So we've just seen LL coming towards the middle sector, 8 tenths up. We've just seen Eric in the first sector, 2 tenths up in the first sector, so good improvement there, but we'll see, can they make it stick for the rest of the lap? That's the question. Ivan is now coming towards the double left-hander. He goes, let's see what he could do. Very important for Ivan. Ivan's a very interesting driver to watch out for because he can be quick sometimes, but just overall, he hasn't really been showing what he could potentially do. As he's 4 tenths up the middle sector. Eric could be in massive trouble, but Eric is on a flying lap. He's just behind us, coming towards the end of the middle sector as he goes 6 tenths up in the middle sector. That's a big improvement. So those people who's retired quite early could find themselves in massive trouble. Even Stefan's out there. NL is up into P9. Great improvement there from the Mercedes driver to put himself into Q3, because I know he's a driver that's really struggled to put himself into Q3, and now he's done it so far, but there's rest behind him ready to challenge as we've got a van right behind the Mellow Beast. Mellow Beast hasn't validated, so he needs to get out of the way right now to let Ivan go, but he's not going to do that for some reason. As we make our way now towards the final corner, let's see, can Ivan get himself inside the top 10 as we're about to make our way towards the line? He can. He goes up into P5. He goes. Here comes Eric behind us, 6 tenths up in the middle set. So he's going to push NL out again. Here he is. He goes P4. Great lap time there from Eric as he puts himself securely inside the top 10, and NL has been knocked out. But both Ferraris were very close to being eliminated there, Milan.
Yeah, they just about managed to scrape through, and I'm surprised to see that they actually did find a lot of time in this final session. So I was completely mistaken there, but the Ferrari drivers, P9 and P10, barely able to make it through. They've got a few tenths towards P11, but they have made it through by the skin of their teeth. So they are into Q3, but that was very close for them.
So, Eastbound first header yesterday. Those two have been looking very competitive since the get-go. Ruben in P3, as he finished in P3 last time at the Belgian Grand Prix, so he's also looking very competitive. Eric in P4, an interesting driver. Remember, he spun at turn number 1 at the Austrian Grand Prix. Daniela in P5, ahead of Ivan. Stefan in P7, ahead of Heikenhaas. Mike 9th, ahead of Fireblaze, as there are the people that got knocked out. It is TVHNL, Lucas, Pataccio, Mellow the Beast, and Tim, who crashed in the pit lane entry on his way back to the pit lane after losing his front wing earlier in the lap, and that's his qualifying done and dusted already. So we move on to the race, but it definitely looks like that the conditions are worsened out there so far. It could be the wet club bad tyres, or maybe still inters, but we're about to find out anytime soon if it is the intermediates being used or wets. But here we are then into Q3, and this qualified session is all about trying to take pole in Q3. 10 competitors left, and all 10 of them are going for pole. And as you can see there on the left side of your screen, that there are wet compound tyres being attached. So the rain has been getting heavier and heavier ever since Q2. So here we are then as the drivers make their way out of the pit lane. They don't have to worry about the soft compound tyres. Use them up. They can save some during the race just in case there is that late safety car, because we've seen plenty of occasions before where in the race a late safety car might appear, and we've seen plenty of carnage because people stay out for track position, people pit for the soft compound tyres. That's when things get mixed up and spicy, and it is a recipe for disaster basically. It's all about survival of the fittest towards the latter stage of the Grand Prix, who can keep out the most trouble and who can find themselves up the order without trying to get themselves in contact or making risky moves, because they know potential podiums there with about 2 or 3 laps to go. But as you can see, the full wet tyres are being introduced in this qualifier session.
They are, but I'm surprised to see that there's not only one driver, but it's a few drivers who have gone out on intermediates. It's Mike in a Ferrari, it's Daniele and Stefan, who have all gone out on the intermediates, despite it absolutely pouring it down in this qualifying session. So I do think the wets are the quicker tire, but we will see in a few moments time if the intermediates are still quick enough to be able to get themselves any higher up the grid. So surprisingly, a little bit of a contrast between some of these drivers with the tire choice. A few out there on inters, the majority is on wets. It's definitely going to be more of a challenge for the ones on intermediates to try and get a competitive lap time, as the grip will be even lower. Well, they might be as quick, but keeping your car under control is definitely more difficult on intermediates on a track in conditions like this.
Yeah, this track is difficult enough in the dries, but especially the wets as well. That's going to be even more challenging. But it's all about who can face those challenges and make the most of it. Here is Danny coming out the final corner. He has been very quick in Q1 and Q2, so he's another driver to look out for as he makes his way towards the line, as he's on the wet compound tyres, headed through turn number 1, and letting the engine just do the brake into third gear. He goes just trying to carry the speed through into second as he clips the apex in towards turn 1, sweep it down towards turn 2 and turn 3. He can be very, very patient, especially in the wet condition, because it's so easy to light up the rear tyres. As you can see, massive wheel spin you heard from the car. Headed down towards turn number 6, but Daniel Ricciardo overtook Valtteri Bottas for the lead of the Grand Prix in 2018 when Ricciardo won the Chinese Grand Prix after a fantastic victory after a power unit problem in the practice sessions, as he swoops through turn 6 and turn 7 then, and now coming towards this right-hander we go in towards fourth gear, just trying to keep us minimum speed up through those corners, trying to make sure you don't lose it back in the car or to get too greedy in the throttle as we make our way out of the double left-hander, which is another challenging corner. We saw Valtteri Bottas spin 2017 in the wet conditions under a safety car as well, as we make our way now towards turn number 12 and 13. This long downhill right-hand, just be very patient, but the back end of the car is wanting to complain. You can see the amount of corrections he has to do on the steering to keep it pointing in the right direction, and there's no DRS of course in the wet conditions, so it's all about straight line speed of your setup and the battery you have left as we make our way now towards the heavy breaker zone, braking just before the 100-meter board down into third gear, screw for the speed, and now looking for a good exit around here as you fight with traction, as you try and experiment with the throttle. Headed towards the final corner he goes in towards fourth gear, now back on the throttle immediately. Bit of wheel spin there as he crosses the line. The first lap time on the board is a 43.4. Can anybody improve? Yes they can. It's Daniela in P1 with a 43.0. 4/10 quicker than Danny on the intermediate compound tyres. That suggests to me that the Inters are still the way to go, because look at that, it's a 42.3 from Stefan. What a blistering lap time there from the young Dutchman, as Mike goes quickest now with a 42.1. Mega lap time again for Mike. Great qualifying performance, because if you remember into Q2, both Ferraris were the back foot. They were in P9 and P10 at the end result of Q2, but Fireplace is drifting through the corner at turn 13 there as he fights with the car himself. But Mike, once again, fantastic lap time for the Dushy. He's really started to find his form again as Eric goes up to P3 in the Aston Martin.
And I think this proves that the intermediates are definitely the tire you want to be on. Everyone who is currently set a lap time on intermediates is ahead of the drivers who started to set a lap time on the full wets. And Fireblaze is the final one out there on inters. Got 7 minutes remaining, so plenty of time to change tires. The Ferrari driver comes across the line, not the tiniest lap it has been, but it is a lap time valid enough to put him into P5, still ahead of the drivers on full wet. So intermediates definitely the way to go, despite this heavy rain. So it's quite interesting on this game that sometimes even in heavy rain the intermediates are still the tire of choice. We've got Ivana and Geitegaas, two drivers without a lap time so far. They're both on the full wets as well. And I would imagine that they won't be going any quicker than the drivers currently at the top of the standing. Mike, as it stands, is on provisional pole position with 6 minutes remaining.
Mike said at the Miami Grand Prix that be his final race of the season after he was going off to do some IT software, as Mike returned at the Belgian Grand Prix after taking pole, and he didn't score a podium that day unfortunately because he didn't really have the pace to keep the guys behind, but Mike's doing a really good job so far. He could be on course for his second consecutive pole position as now Ivan heads down towards turn 14. Let's see what he could do in the McLaren as he now makes his way out of turn 14. Heading towards the final corner he goes. Be very careful because it's so easy to spin out and crash here as well on the exit. Now, here comes Ivan, but this lap time is not going to be representative. So I thought he might dive back in the pit lane, seeing other people on the intermediate compound tyres. But it definitely looks like he's getting wetter out there. So the people that's done a lap time on the wet compound compound tyres, could they have shot themselves in the foot? Because now it could get heavier and heavier, and therefore the tyres will get worse and worse. Maybe those guys are left a bit too late, as Ruben hasn't set a lap time on the board just yet either. He's on the in-speed compound tyres, so he's on the back foot as well, not setting a reference point, but let's see if anybody can improve on Mike's time of the 42.1. Are the conditions going to stay the same? Are they going to get worse? Are the drivers able to improve and find the time? If not, then this could be the order. I'm not quite sure how intense the rain is getting right now, but it definitely looks worse than it was in Q2.
Indeed it does, so this could be decisive then for the final grid, because Mike and Stefan on the front row, certainly not something you would expect going into this qualifying session, as we see Ruben going way too deep into the hairpin. He is about to start his lap. Van and Etika still out there on their in laps. They only got probably around 1 lap on intermediates, as the Red Bull driver about to start his first flying lap in Q3, very narrow to the inside on this straight as he heads towards turns 1 and 2, throwing the car in. Actually seems to be quite a bit of grip, although the back end wanting to step out mid-corner, but he still manages to reach the apex, and now into turn 3, and for very careful on throttle as well here. Bit of a back end stepping out once again, bit of a snap once more on the exit as well, as he now heads in towards turn 6, 26.4. I think that's quite a good first sector, as he now makes his way coming out of the hairpin. Still the back end wanting to step out. You can see just how treacherous it is out there on the intermediates in these conditions, really having to fight the car in every single corner as he makes his way now through turn 8, far from the curb on the inside. You don't really want to hit that in wet conditions. Now through turns 9 and 10, and once again a massive snap of oversteer mid-corner, but he manages to control the car and keep it pointing in the right direction. The game in the bottom right indicates the purple sector. I wonder if that is actually the case, as he now navigates his way around turn 12 and 13, and this is where it's really difficult to keep control of his car. But I must say, he's done a great job so far on this lap, and coming out of turn 13 hasn't got the worst exit of all at all, and he's even getting a little bit of a slipstream from the Haas there on his outside. That's Daniele. He's the only one out there besides Ruben, as he now into the hairpin. This time does not overshoot it, actually breaks a little bit too early and wanted to turn in, but if he does so now into the final corner, he's not going to finish his lap, and he's going back into the pit lane with 2 minutes 50, so it appeared to be a pretty decent lap, but he's not going to finish it, as the first few drivers already starting to go out there, and Daniele has now started his lap as well.
On board with the Haasman of Daniele as he makes his way now through turn 1 and turn 2, just balancing it into as Stefan has left the session then, so hopefully he can get back in very quickly, otherwise he won't be able to do another lap. But Daniela almost lost it, and again out of turn before there, just the back end of the car not complying whatsoever. He's down by 0.4 of a second alone in the first set as he tries to throw the car in, but he might back out this lap time. He's got another lap to do so, maybe he's got the fuel to do so as well. So as you can see, the conditions getting worse and worse, and all these drivers just find it so difficult to keep it pointing in the right direction or keep it on the track, because they're always counter steering and trying to make sure they break traction all the time as well, because you can see the rears are just lights up so much. But Milan, in Q1, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was so close to falling asleep, because when you I think when you stopped talking to let me talk, you continued, and I think I woke up just in time again, like I shocked myself to wake up, if that makes sense. Woke up.
I figured it out. I thought that was happening, because you suddenly were extremely quiet, and you were kind of dozing off already while you were talking earlier on, so I imagined you might have fallen asleep, but you woke yourself up.
I am very tired. I'm trying my best not to fall asleep. I'm ill, plus I've taken that medication as well, so that's what's making me very tired. I'm trying my absolute best.
Well, if you want me to take it over more, you'll have to say that. I am totally fine with that, as Daniele will start another lap, but it invalidates around the final corner, and has that invalidated his next lap as well. It has. Daniele is not going to improve.
Oh dear, that's like a double blow in the. That's like shot yourself in the foot with that one, unfortunately, because he's compromised, and that's it. done and dusted. I hate it when that happens because as a driver, it's so frustrating because you're trying to prepare for a flying lap, all the nerves, and all of a sudden it's gone because you're validating the final corner, which cost you as well on the next lap. So that's it. But both Ferraris, we got Fireplace on the first set to 3 turns down, and Mike as well. I'm not quite sure if he's up or down because I didn't quite see his first intermediate split. But now Mike is heading through this right-hander. He goes. Mike is looking very competitive so far. Fireplace invited me to his party with Mike in it, and when I joined, Mike was complaining like hell. I was like, oh. As Fireplace in the background has lost the car, and that's his qualifying done. But Mike's down in the middle sector, but he is purple to the middle sector there, as qualifying's done and dusted then. So that's it, as we see the checkered flag waving, as we've still got people out there on a flying lap. Can Mike improve the 42.1? The man that finished on the podium back at the Miami. Oh, what's happening there then?
Danny is out, so he won't be improving either. That's another big name in this session. So this entire grid is... Yeah, well, Stefan, I was looking at it earlier, but his AI, I'm not sure what's going on, but it seems to be stuck here in turn 6.
Yep, backwards and forwards. But here comes Mike off the track, and he only validated a lap time. What would it have been? 42.3. So yeah, he wouldn't have improved anyway, despite going off the track. Fireplace, he can't do that about it. Been outperformed by Mike once again, has Fireplace. Eastbrand is 9 tenths up in the middle sector as he's really drifted the car in the middle sector as the Deco does the main straight now. No DRS, of course, but he's 9 tenths up. He needs to find a bit more time in the last sector if Eastbound wants a chance of pole or second place as we head down towards turn 14. If there's a man that can do it, it's this man in P6 because he's always won to pull out of the bag in the very last second. As we see Eastbound coming towards the final corner. Can he take pole now? Nice exit there. As he makes his way towards the line, he can!
Yes.
It's a 42.0 and Eastbound is on pole at the very last second as he pulled out of the bag. And now Eric is left to do something about it, but unfortunately for the Dutchie, he has invalidated there. But Eastbound is on pole. Great there from the Dutchman. Fantastic, and he can be happy with himself. After a Q2 knockout last week, he's on pole here in Shanghai.
Great lap indeed, and one of the few drivers to actually improve on their final laps, and it shows that Stefan, who had left the session halfway through the qualifying session, he's still in P3, only lost out to 1 position. So, but Eastbrand, great qualifying for him. Same for Mike, he's up there once again, like he was last week. Stefan in P3 and Eric in P4. Fireplace down there in P7. Danny, who has been so quick so far to Q1 and Q2, could not get it worked in Q3, and he's down in P8, and Ruben without a lap time. So the grid is definitely a bit mixed up compared to Q1 and Q2.
Indeed, then. So we move on to the race. I think it is a 28 lap race, and it is dry for all the drivers then. So let's see what happens in this race. Can Mike get the jump on Eastbound headed down towards turn 1 because we've seen the inside line be very handy before. We see that Daniel Ricciardo overtook Nico Rosberg in 2016 when he took the lead of the Grand Prix. We saw that both Ferraris and Danny Kvyat went side by side in towards turn 1 when Danny Kvyat got his famous nickname in 2016 for being a torpedo, and that's stuck with him ever since. But we've seen plenty of contact as well, carnage made down in towards turn 1, so I can't wait to see how this race goes. I do like the complex of turn 1, that long looping right-hander. We saw Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton going side by side there in the sprint race last season, and Lando Norris ran out of space as he went too wide. Lewis Hamilton took the lead, but Verstappen came back through to win the sprint race, and Verstappen was also last season's race winner here at the Chinese Grand Prix. But yeah, I can't wait. It should be a thrilling one, and we'll wait for the drivers to ready up, get their setup on, and let's see if it stays dry for the whole race, because usually it can get a bit boring when it's a wet race around here because it's very difficult to overtake. But
Indeed it can, so at the moment it is looking like a dry race. It's a bit overcast though, so I'm not sure if rain is on the way. But at the moment it is going to be dry. And I can imagine it's going to be hard to mediums or mediums to hards, as the majority of the drivers is currently starting on the hard compound tire. That turn 1 indeed is very interesting around there. Not easy to overtake, but here we go with the 5 red lights.
And we are underway for the Chinese Grand Prix in Shanghai. It looks like eastbound, but here comes Mike down the inside, in towards turn 1. We go wheel to wheel, in towards 1. Can eastbound stick him on the outside? He doesn't have the grip to do so. He has to set up a P2. But here comes Stefan and Daniela, the other Haas, versus the Williams, going down towards 3 and 4 as we continue up, going down into these corners here. Fireblades remains in P5. Yes, Danny remains in P6. A disappointing qualifying for him, it must be said. There's contact already. Tim has fallen down the order. Unfortunately, he is gone as Eric has been pushed down to P7. Then as we head down towards turn 6, the braking zone. Now side by side, and here comes Ruben. Puts himself up. Oh, there's more contact as Eric saves the car as he got sideswiped there, I think, by the Red Bull driver, as Krakenhaas is now up into P8 as Danny now puts himself into P4. Has made up a few places after losing some after a bad qualifying. We're going 3 abreast on this short straight, heading down towards turn 12 and 13 with Fireblades with the inside on the mini compound tyres, but Daniela tries to stick it there, but he can't do so now. We've got Ruben on the outside, as now Ruben goes around the outside as turn 13 puts himself up into P6. Last week's podium was set in P3, but interestingly, Fireblades is the only one on the mini Fireblades is the only one on the mini compound tyres, as he has to put the pressure on immediately as we see Stefan line up on a move on the Haas driver, but he's a bit too far back in towards turn 14 as the Haas has overtaken Daniela, puts himself into P7. TBH NL's 13th, Octavius 14th, but my jaw is really hurting. I've never really experienced my jaw hurting from talking.
Oh, sorry to hear that, but what a start that has been from Mike. He immediately took the lead into turn 1. Also a brilliant start from Danny. He's up by 4 positions, and it's the Williams and Stefan going wide, and there's a bit of contact between the two, but Stefan is able to stay in front, but the Alpine is lurking around and he's trying to find a way past the Williams driver. Good start as well from Ruben from 10th on the grid. He has made his way up into P6. Poor start has been from Eric from P4 on the grid down to P9, but Eastbrand, he is keeping off with Mike, so DRS will be enabled on this lap, so he will have a go probably near the end of the lap at that enormous back straight with Slipstream and DRS. Stefan is holding on to P3 right now, doing a good job indeed ahead of Danny, and then it's Firebase, as you said, the only one on medium, so he will want to gain as many positions as he can in the early stages of this race when the tire advantage is his on a medium compound tire. As you now enter the back straight, DRS will be enabled for the first time. Mike with a bit of a moment coming out of turn 13, but he doesn't seem to be losing that much time. Actually, he's created a 6-10 gap to Eastbrand, who will not be able to go for the move just yet. As we now head into the hairpin, no moves being made so far as DRS has been enabled, but Mike still in the lead of this race on lap 3 ahead of Eastbrand and Stefan.
That was a very crucial move there for Mike to get past Eastbound in towards turn 1 and turn 2. Did a fantastic job to get a better start off the line. It looked like in the first and second phase that Mike had a really good initial getaway. Here comes Yestani right behind Stefan as we head down towards turn 1. Stefan's trying to defend as much as he can, but can he? Because Yestani looks like he's got more grip on those hard compound tyres, just seems to find more cornering speed. He's switching lines there going through turn 3 and turn 4. Now, can he line him up out of turn 4, get a better traction? He can't do so as he also lost traction himself as we head down towards turn 6, but he goes down the inside. He's using the battery. Which way? Left or right? Is eventually on the right hand side as he goes down the inside very late there, but Stefan gets a better exit now. We go wheel to wheel towards turns 7 and 8 we go as Stefan just inches forwards. Be very careful not to break the DRS here. If you fight too hard in the early stages, you will lose the DRS, and therefore it'll be very hard to get yourself back in as they end the fight. As Stefan, Stefan's towards the curve and he's made contact with Danny now. Has been pushed down. Here comes Fireblaze. Fireblaze is up into P3. Stefan's into P6 there, and that was Stefan touching the curb on the inside. Those curves are so lethal one little touch will put you out of the race, and unfortunately it has for Stefan. Now he's down to P6. It's left Mike and Eastbound alone in first and second. Now Fireblaze is defending. Here comes Ruben on the back of Yes Danny as we make our way down a long straight. Danny's been swamped, and here comes Ruben now on Fireblaze heading down towards, and here comes Stefan back on his teammate going wheel to wheel. Sorry, it's the Alpine of Williams, but Danny just defends for the time being. The RB at Heikenhaus gets a very poor exit. Daniela is up into P7 as we see that Heikenhaus just defends as he stays in P7 for the time being then, as plenty of things have happened. Here we go again on the straight. Here comes Stefan for the second time on the Alpine heading down towards turn 1 as he touches the inside curve there for rotation, as he's still side by side with Danny. This wheel banging there between those two, but this time Danny has the inside line going towards 3 and 4, but my jaw is killing me. You have to continue.
No worries then, and what action we are witnessing. Plenty of action in the opening stage of this race. We've got yellow flags behind, and I think that's Eric who's had a moment. He's dropped down to P14. But at the front end, Mike and Eastbound have built the gap towards Fireblaze. Though I wonder, is Mike is think he's holding up. Eastbound as it stands, he's going wheel to wheel for the race lead. Eastbound round the outside, will turn to the inside, and Eastbound takes the lead of this race. Ahead of Mike, and Fireblaze now is slowly but surely closing the gap. And I think he has. So was that a tactical play by Mike to help his teammate get into the DRS? I think it has been, because Fireblaze has now caught up with everyone else behind him. So the four drivers are once again working together, but Eastbound already building a gap, as Mike appears to be struggling as well on these tires.
Yeah, Mike, Eastbound almost pulled out the DRS range already in that middle set there, but Mike just got the DRS to keep himself in contention of Eastbound, which is very important. Can't afford to let him go. Here comes again Stefan on Danny, but this time, Ruben out breaks himself going down towards turn 1 there, but not turn 1, sorry, turn 14. You could really tell I'm struggling to talk and I'm really, really tired. I'm fighting myself, just keeping myself alive. No, sorry, awake. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but yeah, here we are then with the DRS wide open on lap 5 on the main straight. My jaw, my stomach is really hurting. I can barely talk. I'm coughing, and yeah, I'm still here.
Some dedication, I must be said, from your man Jamie.
I've commentated all week in different leagues despite being ill.
Yeah, sure, it must be not so great on your body, but he's still continuing on no matter what.
No rest for the wicked.
Mike. Indeed, Mike has closed the gap back towards Eastbrand, and he almost had a look up the inside into turn 6. So it seems that Eastbrand unable to build that gap. He almost got out of the DRS range, but now he's right again under pressure from Mike, who is actually right behind the Haas driver and might be having a go onto the back straight with the Ferrari, closing the gap towards Eastbrand. 310 separating them as we head into turn 13. As Mike will now have the DRS range, he have the DRS to try and get past Eastbrand. I'm sure he won't be putting up much of a fight, as there's no use to that in these early stages of this race. Mike in the slipstream, now opening DRS, and he's going to be easily able to get past Eastbrand, and that has now put a car in between himself and Fireblaze, and that is an optimal situation for Ferrari, because Eastbrand now in between both of them, so they can work together again to try and get past both of them and possibly Fireblaze into the lead and have them build a little bit of gap like in Belgium, as he has the tire advantage right now as Ivan with a 3-second time penalty. Mike setting the fastest lap of this race as we head on to lap 6 of 28.
I remember when it was Ferrari versus both Williams in the Australian Grand Prix. Lucas and Kick working really well to keep Phil Hertz at bay. Fireblaze was a bit too far behind, but this time it's 2 Ferraris versus a Haas. They've got the Haas in their sights, but the difference is one's the mediums, one's the hards. I always think the mediums to hards is a better strategy. Interestingly, only the Ferrari of Fireblaze has gone from mediums to hards, but I've got a theory, you know, and let me think of it before something might happen between. He's gone on the inside. I was waiting for something to happen because he was so close to going side by side in towards turn 9. They go Eastbound on the outside. He makes a stick. What a move from Eastbound there to put himself into P1. As I'm not quite sure how Mike managed to let him go into those slow speed corners there, because usually you can't really overtake around this particular part of the track in the high speed corners, and Eastbound just made it work, but not going to work for much longer, because that is got the The guys behind have DRS. There, thank you so much. This DRS has been enabled for Mike as he really passes him for the lead of the Grand Prix. And look at this, Ruben is right behind Fireblaze, but Fireblaze uses the battery to defend from the Red Bull drive. All they all bunch up as goes wide in the background, goes Stefan, as in the background Morph, Daniela and Lucas have a swapper on at the exit of turn 14 with Patat Job right behind as well as we head towards the final corner. But these guys are so close. Here comes Eastbound, and Mike again puts himself into P1 to retake the lead of the Grand Prix. These guys are continuously swapping for first and second as we head down now.
Mike. Almost making contact with the Haas. He sends it up the inside. But Isbrand now is ahead, and now he needs to build the gap in this part of the lap where he should be quicker. But Mike's still very close to the back of the Haas. But Isbrand has finally taken the lead again. As that's a setup and inside of Danny.
That scared me, man. I just saw an Alpine come to the inside and Fireblaze fighting back. He's up into P3 as Danny tried to send it from a long way back.
Oh my god, that was an assassination attempt by Danny as he almost murdered Fireblaze as he came from so far back trying to get past Ruben. Well, he did that.
Daniela lost it out of turn 9 and he went in the wall, but thankfully kept his tyres at time. I'm not quite sure how he did it. I think he went on the curb on the outside and lost traction and spun off, or almost spun in the wall, but kept his front wing, I think, as he's able to keep going once again. But he's lost the DRS towards Ivan. But DRS now have been able, both Ferraris are really playing this tactically, you know, staying in second and third to keep the man in front of him and at bay as we head towards turn 14 as they pull back in the racing line. There's contact between Mike and Eastbound, but Mike knows he doesn't have to commit, can't afford to make all. Sorry, Mike knows that he has Fireblaze behind him. He's in a good spot here, both Ferraris. They can use the DRS to the back of each other, try and hold the guys behind, and keep Eastbound in front as much as they can. And here comes Mike again, but he's not enough to let go as we head towards turn 1 or turn 2, headed towards the first few corners we go. As you can see in the background, Danny is trying for a move as Ruben goes up the inside of Danny, but not enough room to do so. Stefan gets a very bad exit out on turn 4, heading towards turn 5 and turn 6. Will Danny go for another kamikaze move? No, he won't. He stays behind for the time being in towards turn 6. They're not going to go for a risky move. That could have put Fireblaze well out of contention there if they made contact, if they did make contact, but luckily wheel to wheel and not front wing, otherwise Fireblaze would obviously very annoyed due to that.
Indeed it would, so this time Danny choosing for the safest option into turn 6. Fireblaze, he seems to be struggling on his minus, might have falling off, and here comes Danny up the inside of a place where you normally don't really see overtakes into turn 11, but he has to stay behind for now. But Fireblaze running a bit deep as well. Now possibly a switchback here from Danny on the exit, not quite as he struggles the tracks, but so does Fireblaze, and now puts his car alongside, going on to the back straight. The Alpine is finally going to get past Fireblaze, he is, as Mike's also going to have a go probably at Eastbound, but Danny up at the P3, Fireblaze bump drafting the Alpine as here comes Mike again to retake the lead of this race. It's absolutely kicking off here at the front end of the field. Fireblaze now down to P4 as he's getting pushed by Ruben as well, with Stefan there and Geit de Kaas, the entire top 7 fighting for it on the same piece of tarmac as Mike once again under pressure from Eastbrand. Here he comes on the main straight, DRS open to the outside, and Eastbrand re-overtaking the Ferrari and back into the lead of this race as we head on to lap 9. These two are battling it out like it's the final lap of the race, but it's only, we've got 19-20 laps to go. What a battle we're witnessing at the front end there.
I'm just thinking about the strategy because in my last Chinese Grand Prix I had, it was harsh to mediums we did. That's because if the rain was coming later on, I started on the mini-got bad tyres because I didn't really check whether it had like a full I was, and I got really caught out. I got told the rain was coming by my people in my party, so I picked up the hardcore power tyres by lap 10. I was hoping the rain would come much later, so those guys in front on the old hardcore power tyres were forced to pit because they might take them towards the punch territory. But I'm just wondering that these guys on the hardcore power tyres, are they predicting, is there going to be rain later on, or are they trying to take it for a very long stint, like the rain comes about lap 17 or 18? Let's see then, because Fireblaze on the medium power tyres, the strategy is usually mediums to hard, and on this track it does work better as well because the medium power tyres do fade away dramatically, but Fireblaze able to keep them intact for the time being. But they're definitely going. Here comes Danny on Mike, and he puts himself into P2 as he's charging to the field as we head down towards turn 14.
That was almost a bit of a brake check as Mike slammed to the back of the Alpine. Fireblast had to take some avoiding action as well. But indeed, Danny is now up into second place. I think Mike has got away without any damage. But that was a bit of a scary moment heading into the hairpin of turn 14, that is. But they now up the PC from 8th on the grid, fighting for the lead, storming his way through Stefan, and Geiteka's going wheel to wheel into turn 1. Geiteka's on the outside, still hanging on there around the outside of the Williams rifle, which will turn into the inside line for the next corner. And Geiteka's, can he get the traction down? Or Stefan with the outside line will now be on the inside for the next turn. They're still going wheel to wheel, Stefan and Geiteka's. Stefan on the inside, Geiteka's still trying to keep it around the outside. He knows it will turn into the inside line for the next turn. They're still going wheel to wheel for almost half a lap now, but finally Stefan pulls his car in the front and stays ahead of the V car.
Yeah, indeed, as Geikenhaas has finally caught up. He's left Lucas Patatjob and Vanna at bay. But I'm surprised by the Williams' patient though, because we've seen that Lucas and Kick were competitors last season, really championship competitors, and they were always up there in him so far this season, other than the winner of the Australian Grand Prix, and also the winner of the Canadian Grand Prix. It's not Canadian Grand Prix, Austrian Grand Prix. Now we head onto the back straight again once we go with eastbound, and Danny's had some amazing pace. He's overtaken both Ferrari drivers after a great move on Fireplace and Mike on the back straight. But Danny's not going to go for a move just yet. He's playing this tactically, knows he doesn't have to go for a move just yet on eastbound. Just keep second place for the time being, as use the DRS to the back at eastbound and try and stay ahead of the rest of their guys, because he's done the hard work now, and now he's just going to focus on keeping the guys behind as Mike goes off the track in the final corner there. Very easy to do so because you pick up a lot of understeer in the dirty wake of the car in front. As we head now towards turn 1 we go. It is eastbound who's leading ahead of Danny. Oh, that was so close there between those two making contact. But yeah, Danny in eastbound and Mike in P3 with Fireblaze holding on there in the mini compound tyres in P4. Ruben in P5. Stefan is 6th ahead of Geikenhaas. So I can't really pronounce the name properly now because my car sore throat. Oh, Mike, I thought you were going to go down the inside in towards turn 6, but not going to do that for the time being. But it's a big train from 1st all the way down to 8th place, because Lucas has now caught up to the back of this train. It's going to get spicy towards the front end of the field, and I'm all for it, this big DRS train here. But Danny's done an amazing job to make his way, because when you're in a DRS train, oh my goodness me, I reacted to 3 different things. One, Octavia picking up a penalty, Mike going out wide, and Danny having a massive swapper on at the exit of turn 9. That's 3 different things I reacted to, because when Octavia picked up that 3-second time, I thought it was Mike who picked it up because he went out wide. At the same time, Octavia picked up a penalty, and now Ruben's ahead of Fireblaze, puts himself into P4. You can tell that the mini compound tyres are starting to give up now, as we see the DRS enable for Mike when he go down the inside, because no, Danny defends the inside line as he stays in a P2. Great defending there from Danny, not allowing Mike to go down the inside, as he's remaining in P3. But when will Fireblaze pit? Will he try and extend his stint as long as he can? He's in the pit lane right now, at the same time I pitted at the Chinese Grand Prix, which really disadvantages me, because I had to do a hard stint, and when the rain came, I had to go on the intermediates where other people were on the one-shot strategy. I was on a 2. But Mike's side by side with Danny's. We head down towards turn 2 and turn 3, 4. Let's see then who makes it out on top. But Danny just sends it down the inside, and he lost traction. When Mike gets it back, there oh my goodness me! They all losing traction at the. Oh my goodness me! I can't even speak. Every time I speak, I just run out of breath, and my jaw aches. My jaw's aching a lot for some reason. I don't know why. It never aches.
Well, unfortunately it does today, but nobody seems to have any grip in the rear tires at all, as we see every single driver struggling for grip. With Fireblaze, he has gone into the pit and he's gone onto the hard compound tires. It will be an undercut compared to the rest, but when everyone else pits, they will be on the quicker medium tires. So it's going to be very interesting towards the end of the race, when the medium runners eventually will have their medium start to fade off, and then Fireblaze might have the tire advantage again. So it could become very interesting indeed. Fireblaze probably will be leading this race at some point when everyone pits, because the advantage he currently has with his new tires, but he knows that all those drivers will be catching up to him, and he also knows that he has got a bit of traffic ahead of him coming up to him. He's got 1.5 seconds, as that is Danny going for the race lead around the outside of the hairpin. It goes deep though, and Eastbrand is able to stay in front for the Alpine for a little while longer. Here comes Mike trying to have a go around the outside of the Alpine as well, and to the final corner. But Eastbrand remains in the lead of this race, but Danny is lurking to try and get past. Here comes Mike round the outside of turn 1, getting boxed in almost by Eastbrand round the outside. So close for contact, still hanging round the outside. Now the inside of Eastbrand as well, potentially going for a double overtake, but Eastbrand will have the outside line contact between the two. And here's Danny now on the outside. It's so incredibly tight between these three. Danny still having his nose on the inside as yellow flags in the background. Bit of contact once again as Mike switches to the inside to cover off the Alpine, and he's now got back ahead of Danny, but not without contact, and he's now dropped behind 5/10 to Eastbrand. But these guys, they're battling it out like crazy, which is all good news to Fireblaze, because he will gain a lot of time when these guys continue racing like this. But yeah, they're not thinking about the long game, it seems, at the moment, while trying to trying to work together as a group for in this stage and later on after the pit stop. But they're fighting it out absolutely like crazy. We've got 15 laps remaining, still a few laps in these hard compound tires before they'll switch over, so they have to make the most of it and not lose too much time. But Danny once again lining up a move to Mike on the back straight.
Unpopular opinion, but I do like this track. I don't like to drive it, but I think it's a good place to watch racing actually, because you can have battles all the way from turn 1 down towards turn 6 and turn 7. We saw it happen with Daniel Ricciardo and Sebastian Vettel back in 2017 as well. We've seen plenty of good battles around here. Oh, Mike goes out wide. Will that allow Danny to come through? It will, with the DRS wide open for both of them, but Danny just gets a better exit with more battery being used from the LP driver to put himself into P2. This is great fighting. All these guys have been wheel to wheel almost every single time, and yet they still keep it out on the track unscathed, as I think Fireblaze has overtaken his rival Many the Beast. He puts himself into P4. It's very important. Now Ruben is looking to get past Mike as well. He's under massive pressure from the Red Bull driver behind, but there's no room to overtake there. Remember back in 2013 when I think Sergio Perez and Kimi Raikkonen made contact, when Raikkonen went to the back of Perez after he moved under braking and cost Raikkonen his front end of his nose gone. Look at the switch back, look at the speed he's still got there, has Ruben. They're not on the same age of tyres, of course. Somebody's gone down the order. That's looked like an RB driver who's gone on down to the order. Sorry, I can't the speed, but yeah, I'm trying my absolute best here, but my voice keeps going all the time. But as we head down towards turn 11, turn 12 and turn 13 then, it's still Eastbound leading this Grand Prix, so they know how to play this game when they all keep the lead in front to get the DRS to the back of them. But now DRS enabled again on the straight. You can see that Danny's using the ERS to try and keep Mike and Ruben at bay. Here comes Ruben now on Mike. Here comes Mike, and the Alpine has been swamped as we head down towards turn 14 with 3 abreast, with the Red Bull on the inside, Ferrari on the outside, Danny in the middle. But here comes Ruben, and who gets a better exit as Mike has to stay in P4. Danny remains in P2 despite being under massive pressure and in a massive sandwich. In the background, somebody has pitted. That's Lucas to go on the medium compound tyres to take them towards the end of the Grand Prix. But I'm not quite sure how Danny managed to stay in second place there, because he had a Red Bull and Ferrari on the inside. Here comes the Ferrari and Mike on the inside with the throttle pin there. He's up as a P3, but Ruben has the inside line going in towards, and here comes Stefan now side by side with Mike, but he has to back out as Mike gets a better exit. Fireplace and set the fast up the Grand Prix. We're heading down towards turn 6 now. Well, Stefan go up the inside into towards turn 7. He can, but can he make it stick? They are Bill banging there, and Stefan gets a poor exit. Here comes Heiken Haas right behind too, and he's not able to make a move for the time being as Mike stays at P4, but Ruben is up at P3, so this is a really good race for him. Where's Lucas? Lucas has rejoined behind Ricky Yu. He's currently about 3.7 seconds away from Fireblaze. So Fireblaze, I thought, would have a much bigger undercut than that, but he hasn't done that so far. As Fireblaze on the hard compound tyres is in P10, 7 seconds behind Eric, and the highest new half runner in the P10 then, as you can see that massive slide there for Stefan out, turn 13 and 14. Heiken has with the DRS in the back of him, but Mike has the DRS in the back of Ruben as we have the DRS on the back straight going down towards turn 14, but somebody's spun down there. Looks like it's not Tavy who's gone for a spin as we head down towards turn 14, but nobody's up. Oh, the Alpine, Danny's gone out wide, but Ruben can't get a good exit. He has massive wheel spin, but I wonder what these guys are prepared to respond to the pit stop. But yes, they do. So all these guys, there's contact, the side by side, and there's more contact, spawn between those two. As, oh my goodness me, that could have ended in tears there, but Ace Brand still maintained the lead in the pit lane as he's now on the medium compound tyres.
Wow, man, Danny and his front will to into the pit lane entry. That could have ended in tears indeed. As they enter the pit lane, they've lost so much time with their battling. I'm sure they will be behind Fireblaze. They absolutely will. Fireblaze takes the virtual race lead by quite a few seconds. Lucas has jumped the entire train by pitting 1 lap earlier. He's 1.1 seconds ahead of Isbrand, so that is what the undercut does for you. 1 lap for Lucas, and he's gone from P8 to potentially being P2 as it stands, as Isbrand is trying to find a way past the Aston Martin, as Octavia is having a moment into the pit lane entry as well, but Isbrand still going wheel towards the Aston Martin later on the brakes though, and gets past. Here comes Ruben as well, as Reikaiju is really holding up these guys. Here comes Danny as they all get past the Aston Martin. Stefan will be up next through this middle part of the lap. But we've seen the pit stop so far as Danny also have to look up the inside of Ruben. But Mike, he is the only one with Geitekas. They have stayed out on the hards. I'm sure they will coming in at the end of this lap, or might even be going longer if they want to go for an alternative strategy. But Fireblade, he's got 2.2 seconds to Lucas and around 3.3 to Ishbon, but these guys will have tire advantage.
Ricky, you have spun out the corner as Stefan now has lost the DRS towards Danny as Mike and has a fight for first and second, but Mike is in the pit lane then to get rid of the hard compound tyres upon the brand new medium. So the gap between Lucas and Fireblaze is about 2 seconds, and like you said as well, the undercut really helps because Lucas was at the back of the DRS train, but when he pitted, he's now ahead of the DRS train and he's up into P5, so that's a really good undercut. Eastbrand is pushing the track limits there, the exit the final corner, and Stefan gets up to his second time as well in that final corner. It's a very that's a very normal place to get one as well. As you can see, Eastbrand used a lot of curb on the inside as Ruben is closing in on Eastbrand as well, and Danny is right behind. We see some fantastic racing between all these guys, but Danny almost cost himself the race because he made contact with Eastbrand and both of them could have had their races ended right there and then. But they're still in this big fight. Oh, Danny and Eastbrand there. Eastbrand go for another win, and Danny on his debut could still go for his first win of the season. Ruben is picking up another podium as well. It's CPI Ruben. I didn't even realise it was CPI, but yeah, I know a lot of people at CPI, especially the leader of that esports team as well, because he races with me on Sundays, and we're always the party with each other, taking the mick out of each other. So it's nice to see a CPI driver in here, Ruben. I know CPI are very quick, and they're always in a lot of esports events as well.
Indeed, the esports events, but at the front end, Geitekas is still out there along with Eric, but Eric is 4 seconds behind. Octavia has retired from the session in pit lane, I think. So no safety car being deployed for that. Fireblaze now, he's got Lucas for company. He's closed the gap down to 8/10. Geitekas finally going into the pit lane to make his scheduled pit stop. Eastbound, Ruben and Danny have closed the gap to Lucas as well. And it's Mike who came out ahead of Stefan. But Mike and Stefan, they are not in the DRS range of the group ahead. So Eric gets a 3 second time penalty. Danny with the fastest lap of the race on the mediums. So there comes, that's a Octavia coming out of the pit lane, being a bit of a hazard into turn 1. And that is Danny going off track because of that. Because Octavia wasn't being ghosted, going out of the pit lane. He's now under pressure from Lucas. This is the fight for the race lead, the top 5 within DRS range of each other. Mike is close to the gap as well, as Stefan is struggling to hold on to the top 6 here. But Lucas is now right at the back of Fireblaze, running onto the grass a bit, going into 8. And Eastbound also having a look at the Williams driver as well, as we're going to have a go once again at the end of the straight. We're going to have 10 laps of racing to determine the race winner. Fireblaze, what he needs to do is stay with the leading group, and then when his tires will be better near the end, when the mediums drop off, he will have to go for it and strike to try and go for the race win. But what he needs to do now is just stay with these guys. He won't be able to maintain this lead for much longer, I can imagine.
There's contact. Oh, there's more contact between those two. Eastbound and Ruben, they're getting very desperate. They're fighting in those corners, banging side pods as well as we head down the straight we go. Look at this. Here comes down in the side by side. Look at this. We're almost 3 abreast on the straight. We're heading down towards the breaker zone. We go 2 by 2. Let's see what happens going down towards the breaker zone. Fireblaze is trying to hold on. And in the background, Maiso is taking Danny. And Eastbound and Ruben to go side by side. In the water final corner, they go Lucas. And look at this. Here comes Ruben. The side by side. We are 3 abreast on the main street as we head down towards turn 1. Lucas is up into P2 or stays in P2 but goes out wide. Here comes Eastbound slipping up the inside in towards turn 1 and turn 2 we go. And my jaw is absolutely killing. It's like I've been eating a gobstopper non-stop, if you know what that is in the UK. But here comes Eastbound around the outside. Here comes Ruben. They're all so close. Ruben's boxed. He's got nowhere to go. As we head down towards turn 6 we go. Oh my god, Lucas around the outside. He outbreaks himself and goes out wide. And now Eastbound is up as a P2. This is just unbelievable. The last lap they went crazy, all of them, and now Eastbound's up as a P2. Ruben almost makes contact on the back of Lucas there as we head down towards turn 8. And look, Ruben's lost it. Here comes Mike around the outside. It's towards turn 9 and turn 10 now. Mike's around the outside. Can he make a stick? He can, but he's still there. Is Ruben when he goes down the inside? No. Oh yes, he does. Oh my god, there's contact. Mike makes contact with Lucas as he spins himself. And now here comes Stefan on the inside, and Danny almost lost the car as well. This is just crazy. And guess what? Fireplace is still in the lead, but not for long because Eastbound's on the back of him now. DRS has been enabled. He puts himself into first place, but in the background is Danny. Look at this, the Red Bull and Stefan and Mike becoming 3 abreast, heading down towards turn 14. No. And Mike goes the corner as Ruben gets a better exit on the outside, as Stefan gets ahead of Mike as well. It's just unbelievable racing between all these guys here. On the last lap we go, not the last lap, the last corner we go. Mike gets it back ahead on Stefan as now he puts himself into P6, but Captain Fireblaze sticking to the US Racing Eastbound. We know the media compound ties do fade away quite quickly, so we know that Fireblaze could be in a position to overtake later on in the Grand Prix, but these guys are so intensely fighting very hard here. We don't know who's going to be on the podium. We don't know who's going to be on the podium or win the race.
You sound like you're absolutely dying every single second of this race, I can't lie. But meanwhile at the front, we've got Eastbound now ahead of Fireblaze. Can Eastbound build a gap? This is the crucial moment in this race. If you can get Fireblaze out of his DRS range, he might be able to win this race, but Fireblaze is still holding on. He's 6-7 tenths behind the Haas as we head into the final sector, and the DRS detection point is just at the end, the exit of this corner, so Fireblaze still within DRS range, which is quite important for his race, but he will be under pressure from Lucas as well. Fireblaze running a bit wide through turn 13, taking a bit of a high line, but Lucas now in Williams using ERS, and DRS he's going to go and line up a move on the Ferrari up the inside. He will go into the hairpin. Lucas alongside Fireblaze under braking, later on the brakes. Fireblaze on the outside runs deep as well, and Lucas is able to get past, and he is now up into second place again. Now chasing Eastbound as Danny will be up next to try and find a way past Fireblaze, who will not have the tire advantage during this stage of this race. He's got 8 laps to go. Fireblaze still holding on to a podium finish, but he's got Danny, Ruben, Mike and Stefan and Geitegas all following him behind. They're all 8 cars fighting for the race win technically, or a spot on the podium. Well, maybe not Stefan because he's got a 3-second time, but here going 3 wide once again with Ruben, Danny and Fireblaze. Oh my days, Danny backing out was the most clever decision he could have taken there, otherwise they probably would have crashed, all 3 of them. Here comes Ruben up the inside of Fireblaze. We go wheel to wheel once again. The Red Bull, contact once again between the 2. Fireblaze almost losing the back end as we got Danny round the outside. Ruben is up at the P3. Here comes Danny wheel to wheel, and this does not going to work out as they hook wheels together, side pod to side pod, as Fireblaze making contact with Danny. Here comes Mike up the inside as he moves on the braking a bit. 3 wide, Mike up the inside, and he almost spins around. What the hell am I witnessing in this race? Stefan has got past as Fireblaze and Danny still making contact. They've absolutely dropped out of the DRS of Ruben. Oh, more contact, almost both sending him into the wall. Here comes Stefan now having a look at both of them as Danny is in the slipstream and Mike as well. We're having 4 cars fighting for the same place on this track. Stefan now going for a triple overtake up the inside of the hairpin, and he gets past all 3 of them, and he is now up into P4. What a move that was from Stefan, as Fireblaze now finally gets back in front of Danny. But wow, what was that last lap, man? Lap 21, absolute carnage here, fighting for P4. Stefan though has now dropped out of the DRS range as Danny and Mike go wheel to wheel. The 2 Ferraris now almost making contact. This is getting hectic at the end of this race.
Can't believe also what I'm witnessing either. These guys are all fighting ferociously, not giving up at all. Mike's back ahead of his teammate of Fireblaze into P6, so the hardcore pad tires is not really working out for him so far, as Danny, unfortunately, Danny's been pushed backwards into P7 because at the early stage of the Grand Prix he was fighting. I said he was in a good spot in P2 in the early stage on the hardcore pad tires, but he's been caught up in a lot of melee as well, a lot of drama, unnecessary drama for him, and now he's found himself right behind Fireblaze again. Not the place you want to be whatsoever, because the last lap is what cost him big time, because they were hugging wheels, and now Hack and Haas is in the background looking to take advantage of the Alpine driver, but he just can't do so. But the battle for the top 3 are back together. I'm trying to find a rhythm for my voice here, trying to find a good tone, but I can't. But Stefan is right there too on the medium compound tyres, and now Eastbound leads this Grand Prix ahead of Lucas. The kicks out about 1 minute. Do you know what? We talked about the top 8 so much, but we've barely mentioned anybody behind. You know, this is one of those races where, oh, here comes Danny up the inside of Fireplace, and he pushed him off the track, and now here comes Heiken Haas, who puts himself into P7 ahead of the Ferrari driver as well. So I think Danny's been really annoyed about Fireblaze being an obstacle in the way, potentially costing him. And here comes Haken Haas, who puts himself into P6 now ahead of Danny as well. But this could be an interesting battle now between Lucas. Can Lucas, out of nowhere, that undercut really helped him as well, because he was last in the DRS train, and now he's P2 after he made his pit stop. So what a good strategy call there from AMS Lucas. Not to mention Ruben as well. Look at Ruben in P3 once again. We've seen him plenty of times in this race, having some tremendous battles. Had so many battles in this race. It's been unbelievable. But I think Danny's been worst off it, because he was second place in the first stint, just hanging on to the back of Eastbound, keeping both Ferraris behind him at the time. But those last few laps for him got a bit messy, and he put himself out of contention potentially now. Haken Haas is trying to get himself back in DRS range of the top 5. There is 5 laps left to go in this race, and it's Eastbrand who leads ahead of Lucas, Ruben in P3, Stefan in P4, with Mike in P5, Haken Haas in P6 ahead of Danny, Fireblaze in P8. Daniela, potato job in Van, ran off the top 10, but we haven't mainly mentioned those guys outside the top 10. TVH and L, Eric, Mello the Beast, Ricky U, P15, both Salbers 16th and 17th place. And here comes the Ferrari, and Mike up the inside in. Oh, it's contact, and he's in a spin. And unfortunately for Mike, that'll definitely put him out of contention for now. A bit optimistic on the inside, because there was no room to go down the inside of the Red Bull driver. The Red Bull driver wasn't going to give him space either, because that was his corner. And unfortunately for Mike, he had to pay the consequences for that one. Now he's back down the inside of Haken Haas, who puts himself into P5. Mike's had some great pace, you know, but unfortunately made a bit too many mistakes, I dare say.
Yeah, he's been very aggressive throughout this race, going for some very daring moves, and some working better off than others, like we just seen in the hairpin, where he lost out again. But he seems to be closing the gap again, as the top 4 is not really driving away quickly. Eastbound rather holding up this train of Lucas, Ruben and Stefan, and Mike has closed the gap to under a second once again, dragging Geint de Kaas along with him. We've got 4.5 laps remaining. Eastbound still ever in the lead of this race. They haven't changed lead for a while now. Lucas, by the way, must be said, from P12 on the grid, he is fighting for the race win, but he has pitted the lap earlier. His tires will not have infinite life, so it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be able to hold on to this position. But look at Ruben, he's right at the back of Lucas, going onto the straight, almost pushing the Williams through the corner, and surely he will now have a go with the DRS, ERS, and he pulls out of the slipstream and then has to tuck back in, as he doesn't quite have the speed he needs. And look at Lucas, man, he has got the absolute straight line advantage, must be a bit lower wings, and he is able to stay in front of Ruben, despite the fact that Ruben was so close to the back of the Williams going onto the straight. And there's contact once again between the two of them. Sauber's having an absolute field day in this race. Once again, terrible day for the Kick Sauber's 1 team. like we've seen multiple times this season. They're down on P16 and 17. Stefan, he is also lurking in the background. Mike and Gaitiga is trying their best to close the gap, and Danny and Fireblaze, they seem to be out of contention for the race win and probably a podium as well, as they're not anyone near the cars in front, and Danny on the mediums as well. Fireblaze on his older hard tires, unable to keep up with the cars in front. He will have to hope that these guys will start battling very hard, like we've seen earlier in this race. We got 4 laps to go now. Eastbrand, Lucas, Ruben, Stefan, Mike and Gaitigas all in for a race win here at Shanghai. It is gonna be a hectic final few laps, I can tell you that, like it has been throughout this entire race. Plenty of action so far from start all the way to the finish line.
Is Lucas in P2 just biding his time, waiting for the last few laps to overtake Eastbound, but at the same time he's going to be very careful not to wait too long because Ruben's there behind him to pass as well. He had to use the battery to defend against Ruben, who's trying to pressurise him to overtake Eastbound to put him into uncomfortable territory in first place. He's trying to put him into first, and look at that. Ruben is right at the back of Lucas, essentially pushed him into 13 as we have the DRS wide open once again. Here we are. Down the back straight we go. Here comes Ruben on Lucas as we head down towards turn 14. Can Ruben make it stick? He can down the inside, but Lucas is hanging around the outside. But it looks like Ruben's got a better exit than him. He does. Great move there. Now Lucas under pressure, but I don't think Stefan is going to overtake his own teammate because he knows that his teammate does not have a 3-second time penalty, so he doesn't want to jeopardise his race or his positioning later on in the Grand Prix. As we head down towards turn 1 we go. Fantastic race from these guys here, battling so hard, and Mike is back in this battle. Look at this, look at who's there in the background. That's Stefan looking for a move on Lucas, but can't seem to try and find a way through. But there's no way Stefan's going to overtake his teammate Lucas. There's surely not. It's just a here comes Lucas down the inside. It's a late move, but here comes Mike as well around the outside. Stefan gets a terrible exit, and Kaik and Haas will also put himself into P5. So Stefan, who was trying to shape up his teammate, actually got himself out of shape, and now he's down to P6, P5 because he's just overtaking Kaik and Haas, who now ghosted and trying to take advantage of people who are solid. And now look at this then, Stefan's inside Mike as we see them swap places, as we see them go inside each other as we go in towards turn 11 and turn 12. Now they're solid again, so be very careful not to make contact. We head in towards 13 we go. I don't like this, ghost battling, but here we are. There's a kick salver who's in the way but gets out of it as we see the DRS enabled then. Here comes Ruben, here comes Lucas on the back of Eastbound. Let's see what happens going down towards turn 14. Ruben's going to make a lunge, is he though? Oh, there was almost contact going down towards turn 14 Eastbound, and look at this, Lucas down the inside. He takes on Ruben. Will he get Eastbound? No, he doesn't, but Mike side by side with Ruben as we head towards the final corner we go to start off the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix as Ruben gets a better exit than Lucas. We're starting the penultimate lap of this race then. Lucas and Ruben are side by side, and here comes Mike. Mike's up as a P2 as we see Ruben and Mike continue their battle, headed down towards turn 1 and turn 2. Mike came out of nowhere, a bit of a swapper on there for Ruben at the exit of turn 2, but here comes Lucas now around the outside. It's Ruben really just in the corner there, struggling for traction as we see Lucas on the back of Mike. Is Mike going to win this race despite being nowhere near the stages, as we see that Ruben comes up the inside of Lucas but gets a better exit. I can't even speak no more.
Wow. We're witnessing here Ruben round the outside as the better speed mid-corner once again, wheel to wheel with Lucas through the middle part of the lap. You don't really want to overtake around here, you're going to lose so much time. Still Ruben trying to hold it around the outside, but eventually has to give way to the Williams, who had the poor exit though, and Ruben is more busy fighting out with Lucas than he is to the top 2. And here comes Stefan now around the outside. Ruben is dropping down the order. He was at one point fighting for the race win, now he's fighting for the final spot on the podium as he struggles to put down the throttle with the backhand stepping out a bit. But we've got 1 lap to go after this one. Eastbrand is in P1 ahead of Mike and Lucas. Ruben has dropped behind just a little bit. Here comes Gaitigas up the inside of Stefan into the hairpin. Is he going to go for the double move? Not quite. Ruben breaks extra late. in order to stay in front of both of these drivers. Geitkaas now on the outside of the final corner. He's got Stefan on the inside, and Geitkaas getting boxed in there by the Red Bull. Oh, bit of contact between the two as Geitkaas is kind of getting forced off track in the final corner, has to stay behind in P6. But we're on to the final lap of this race. Who will win this race? It's going to be about who is going to be behind going into that final straight with the DRS. At the moment it's Eastbrand in P1, but does he want to stay in that position for this lap?
Eastbrand has been P1 majority of this Grand Prix. I think every single driver behind him has been involved in some sort of chaos and contact, except Eastbrand, who's been phenomenal in first place. But that could come towards an end because, like you said, whoever's second place on the back straight will have the main golden opportunity to overtake. And as you can see Mike's ERS level is about 90%, so he definitely has to overtake him. So he just definitely has the battery to overtake him on that back straight. But let's see what happens then, because Mike needs a good run out of the slow speed corners to keep in contention of Eastbrand. And let's see, can Mike get his first win of the season? Top pole in Belgium, got his first podium at the Miami Grand Prix. But look at him struggling for traction. As you can see, that Eastbrand gets a much better exit now. All the battery will be used on the straight. DRS will be enabled. Eastbrand will be defending left, right and centre. But here comes Mike gaining as he will go around the outside in towards 14. There's contact, and here comes Lucas who makes contact with Eastbrand as well. But who gets a good exit out of this one? It is Eastbrand who stays in first place. Great defending there from Eastbrand. Here he is towards the line. Eastbrand will win the Chinese Grand Prix. And talk about a Chinese, well, our order one, as Mike will finish in P2. Lucas finishes in P3. Oh my goodness me. This has been an absolute crazy race. I just can't believe it. Kraken has in P5. Danny in P6. Stefan P7. Do you know what? Every single driver has been involved in some sort of spin or carnage, and yet they're back together all the time. It's just unbelievable. Every time I tried to speak, my stomach was closing, I can barely breathe. And I can barely talk as well. And my jaw was hurting so much. I don't know how I even managed to do this race. It was just a lot of dedication to do this. I wanted to quit during Q1 because I fell asleep. And honestly, Milana, I think I did fall asleep in Q1.
Yeah, for a bit, but not too long. Yeah, you've done an incredible job the entire race to go on despite all hurting your mouth and struggling to speak. Still holding on to the end. Absolute top class dedication, it must be said. But speaking of this race, man, what a race that was from start to finish. Constant action. Really doesn't help if you have struggling to speak when something's happened every single second of the entire race. But Eastbrand, with some great defensive maneuvers on the final lap, is able to hold off Mike to win the Chinese Grand Prix from pole position. Mike from second on the grid finishes in second, and Lucas from 12th on the grid finishes on the podium. Brilliant comeback drive for him as well. But wow, what a race that was.
It was indeed. It was action packed, battle galore, absolutely everywhere. Every single driver was trying to be in second place towards the last few laps of the Grand Prix, but Eastbrand again, congratulations on another win, mate. Fantastic. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch you drive and defend in the last few laps as well during that race. I know Mike will be frustrated, but at the end of the day, Eastbrand comes out on top, and he deserves it as well. An amazing driver, because he's been in P1 majority of the race while he watched other people fight. He didn't really get involved in other people's contacts where other people might have hit somebody. By the way, the other commentator is called Milan Langer. There's the one and only Milan Langer. He's an absolute legend. That's my co-commentator.
Indeed I am. But yeah, what a race indeed. I'll have to go now. I've got another one to comment.
I'll have to go.
I will do that.
I'll have to go now, but stay in the party for a few seconds when I end the stream.